Greetings, noble travelers of the realm. Have you ever witnessed a war so long, so bloody, and so utterly confusing that even the historians can't agree on who won? Sit tight, because today I, King Arthur, yes, that King Arthur, shall unravel the absolute medieval disaster known as the 30 Years' War. Spoiler alert, it lasted more than 30 years. And by the end, everyone was poorer, hungrier, and somehow still convinced they were right. Classic Europe. Now, before I dive headfirst into this inferno of political chaos, religious squabbles, and general incompetence, do your king a favor. Strike thy enchanted-like sword, subscribe to this humble court of knowledge, and leave a comment below. Especially if you've ever tried to explain the 30 Years' War to a friend and ended up mumbling about Protestant math teachers and the Holy Roman Empire being neither holy, Roman, nor much of an empire. Right then, let's set the scene. The year is 1618. I'm long gone by now, possibly asleep on an island, possibly turned into legend. But Europe is in flames. Not metaphorically, literally. It starts in Bohemia, which is not as dreamy as it sounds. The local Protestants are rather fed up with Emperor Ferdinand II, a Catholic so devout he made the Inquisition look like a yoga retreat. In a diplomatic move only Central Europe could invent, they throw two of his envoys out of a window. This is called defenestration, a very fancy word for get out. The mess that follows? A 30-year brawl involving most of Europe. This was not your average family feud. This was a pan-continental grudge match fueled by religion, greed, revenge, and the sheer inability of kings to mind their own business. Imagine a tavern brawl that grows into a citywide riot, then somehow involves 12 more cities. Everyone jumped in. Spain, France, Sweden, Denmark, the Dutch, the Habsburgs, you name it. They brought their own army and very little common sense. Now you may be wondering, King Arthur, was this truly about religion? Ah, such a noble question. It started that way, Protestant versus Catholic. But give it a few years and even the Catholics were fighting the Catholics. France, a Catholic kingdom, teamed up with the Protestant Swedes just to keep the Habsburgs from becoming too powerful. Because nothing says religious conviction like funding your enemy to spite your cousin. As the war dragged on, Europe transformed into a buffet of suffering. Cities were burned, farms trampled. Mercenaries roamed the countryside looting anything that wasn't nailed down, including entire churches. Soldiers were often unpaid, which led to the delightful tradition of pillaging your way to dinner. And let us not forget Wallenstein, the general who treated war like a startup business. He built his own private army and got rich by selling protection to terrified peasants. I'd call him medieval Elon Musk, but with fewer tweets and more cannons. By the time the Peace of Westphalia was signed in 1648, entire regions were ghost towns. The German states, where much of the fighting took place, lost up to a third of their population. Congratulations, Europe! You spent 30 years fighting, and the end result was mostly drawing new lines on the map and agreeing to disagree. But here's the twist. Despite the carnage, the Peace of Westphalia laid the groundwork for modern diplomacy. Sovereign states, national borders, religious tolerance, these were the reluctant offspring of a war no one could win. Sometimes, it seems, humanity has to set itself on fire before it learns how to stop playing with matches. So what did we learn? First, never trust anyone who starts a war in the name of peace. Second, if the Holy Roman Empire is involved, prepare for 300 years of paperwork. And third, if you ever feel unproductive, just remember, some of the world's most powerful empires spent 3 decades achieving absolutely nothing. If you enjoyed this tragicomic tour through Europe's favorite apocalyptic sequel, don't forget to honor this court with your like, join our noble subscribers by clicking that button, and leave your thoughts in the comments. Which part of the 30 Years' War made you say, "What were they thinking?" I've been King Arthur, your royal historian of mayhem. And until next time, Keep your swords sharp and your treaties clearer than the Peace of Westphalia. Farewell.